don't matter whether you're a brother or whether you're a mother, you're staying alive, staying alive. Feel the city breaking and everybody shaking and we're staying alive.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Nikki, Aurora and from me. Well, a brief update on how our birthday celebrations are going. Over 5 times the target. Of course, this is the last week, so I'm just keeping everybody up to date and saying thank you so much. And many people have commented on the fact that thousands of people all over the world have shown Thomas Markle Sr. what love and appreciation are all about. Pity he couldn't get it from the primary source. Also, I don't know how many of you know it, but Samantha is reissuing her lawsuit. I have been sent by her the entire suit. I'm not going to go into it in any depth beyond saying that I hope this time the judge will understand that defamation by implication does not require assertion. It requires implication. I was very disappointed in Justice Honeywell's findings. She was clever. She appeared to indicate that she was going to rule, in my opinion, justly, and then didn't. She has completely forgotten that defamation at a global level is not the same thing as 2 cats meowing in an alley. And I will leave it at that. Catherine Wandmacher says, must be Wandmacher says, I think Jane Pauley did the best she could with a pre-written script she was given. At this point, I should say, I have been hearing lots of interesting rhythms from my bongo drums, which I am going to interweave into my answer on this subject. Loved it when she said to Meghan with subtle sarcasm, when you put your hand on your husband's knee, like I knew you would. She actually said her husband's hand, didn't she? But anyway, whatever she said, we've got the message. I thought to myself, Meghan was nailed with her controlling mannerisms. The look on Meghan and Harry's face was priceless. And I'm going to read out as well what Asturian and Muros says. Thank you for your video, Lady C. I think the word you were looking for at the end of the video to describe Harry's wife is windbag. Thank you very much. That summarizes her perfectly, if only partially, because normally windbags are not as malevolent as she is, nor are they as dangerous, nor are they as irresponsible, because I have known a windbag or two in my time, and not one of them would have had the temerity to jump literally as well as figuratively on the graves of young people. So I will continue. As for Harry, addle-pated is a suitable description. Actually, did you notice in the video that Harry didn't look at Meghan during the interview, but stared over her head. Also, he leaned away from her as far as possible without falling off the chair. He looked very grim. The filthy looks she gave him when he had the temerity to interrupt her star turn with the well-meaning rubbish about parenting being first responders to a family crisis was a real fall of the mask. I don't think that the interviewer liked her at all. The comment about the hand-holding was a dig, and she had a reptilian glint in her eye as she said it. Well, I have heard some really interesting stuff, which I need to be very careful how I convey it. I want to give you the gist without compromising anybody. There's an awful lot of talk behind the scenes as to what really went on and why it went on. Now, my own take on it is that Jane Pauley did an Alison P. Davis on Meghan. Do you remember Alison P. Davis? The writer from The Cut who allowed Meghan to hang herself with her own words and then was given enforced holidays as her reward. Jane Pauley, now I'm going to tell you what I've been told, and I'm going to do it in such a way that hopefully anybody who tries to figure out who told me what is not going to be able to do it, because evidently there is some interest, I gather, in the United States of America as to who actually tells me what, because it's very disconcerting to them, poor darlings, that they sneeze in bathroom number 16 and then try to cover up the fact that after they sneezed they had an accident. And I'm able to see not only how they had the accident, but how much it stank. Naughty me. Well, evidently, the whole thing was, as I thought it was, totally agreed beforehand. However, Harry didn't know that Meghan was going to and had allowed them to bring up her ideations. Sorry for laughing, but I have to tell you, if ever somebody doesn't even know what the ideation is, it's Megsy baby. And to cover for the fact that Harry didn't want her bringing this up, she evidently said, "Oh, well, I had no idea you were going to ask. No, I had no idea you were going to ask the question. That." And then, "Oh, but while we're on a cheerful subject, just let me smile my way through it and check out the new eye makeup and the new eyes. Don't you just think I look fabulous? Oh, gosh, I have to tell you, nothing like a little bit of surgery just made a girl feel good." Well, depends what the surgery is, of course. If it's anything south of the border down Mexico way, that's something we've got to definitely suppress. But also, we can't admit surgery north of the border, sort of approaching Toronto and Manitoba. Oh, no, nothing about that. Absolutely not a thing about any of that whatsoever. No. But don't I look fabulous? And you notice that I made sure I posed perfectly. Well, evidently he had no idea that it was coming and was furious. And she, evidently, to cover her own posterior, then had a go at them afterwards for asking the question that she knew they were going to ask, and she had perfectly prepared it. Isn't it? Am I not brave? I smile through adversity. My ideations are just something worth smiling about. Well, they're certainly laughable, that's for sure. Jane Pauley, in my opinion, was extremely professional. Somebody had to ask the questions. And she brilliantly, in my opinion, cast shade on Meghan with her smug, disbelieving, patronizing, almost mocking expression on her face. Well, when I had that ideation, when I just look fabulous, and I had that ideation, and you notice I'm very brave, I smile throughout. And then when anybody else talks about serious matters, like the parents beside me, and they're speaking about their loss, do they know anything about loss? Come on. I know about loss. They don't know anything about loss. But so I just made it obvious that I scorned them. And I looked at them with a face that would have made the iceberg that sank the Titanic look like a lollipop. Well, everybody has commented on the body language between the couple. And there are definitely matters afoot with that couple. The only thing is, I don't trust either of them. But Harry is making loads of moves behind the scenes to try to state, whether it is true or not, that he wants to mend fences with his family. I don't trust either of them. I don't trust both of them. And I do not trust the toxicity of a folie à deux. I've seen it with my own parents, and my father was not basically a nasty man. And my father was never disloyal to his family, ever. My mother couldn't get my father to do certain things. He just wouldn't do them. Where his family was concerned, she was battering down a cement wall, trying to turn it into a door. Harry has betrayed his family. Harry has abused his family. Harry has allowed Meghan to betray and abuse his family. Harry has allowed Meghan to betray and abuse, as has he, not only the interests of the people of this country, but of the realms of which his father and grandmother before were monarch. and our monarch. And for that, there is no excuse. And don't think he's going to be excused, because he's not. He can knock on every cement wall thinking it's a door, and it's not going to open. But often in relationships like that, it's so volatile, it's so turbulent, it's so changeable, that north is north today and north is south tomorrow. So I don't believe anything except that they do have a very volatile and turbulent relationship. And she has sufficient control over him that all she needs to do is place her hand on his knee to silence him. But what she couldn't do was silence the disapproval on his face. And I say, good on you, Harry, for still having a kernel of the decency that you used to display. Good on you. I think that's actually, shall we mix metaphors and say, that's a seed that you should be watering, and maybe it will grow into a plant, and maybe it will provide you with flowers, and maybe it will actually allow you to flourish eventually when you get on from under that poisonous shade. So, Tracy Floyd says, Harry and Meghan are not qualified to give out mental health advice. Why are the professionals not publicly speaking out about their hypocrisy? It's dangerous and undermines their professionalism. It's disgusting. Well, I am afraid that, in fact, professionals are speaking out. They've already spoken out. And 2 professionals have contacted me. One, I'm not going to mention her name because she hasn't given me permission, but the other has identified herself publicly. Colette Lash says, I am a dentist on an American Indian reservation, and all big block capitals. Healthcare providers are required to take continuing education hours on a certain sort of word which we shouldn't mention on YouTube. It begins with S, prevention. Harry and the other one have no idea what they are talking about regarding that type of prevention. I'm paraphrasing slightly. Very dangerous. And shall I say her initials, CF says, I'm disgusted that this skanky pair of wackadoos have dared to exploit grieving parents for their own ends. As a fully qualified psychotherapist, I can tell you that working with children who have a certain sort of, she uses one word, ideations is a specialist subject and requires further study after qualification. They should never, they being Harry and Meghan, should never be anywhere near grieving parents. It is exploitation of the highest order. I couldn't agree more. Meghan has no empathy. She could never know what it feels like to be in this terrible experience. Also, one main aspect of psychotherapy training requires that you work on yourself and your past issues and experiences so that if you were to get a client who had a similar issue, you are able to separate yourself to work with the client's experience and not let your own get in the way as it's irrelevant. Meghan seems to think that if she talks about anything that has happened to her, assuming it had, by the way, it will fix other people's issues because she's the be-all and the end-all. They are way out of their depths with this one. Her body language told me she was very uncomfortable, especially when the parent was talking, as she had no idea how to handle it. I also agree that the hand on the knee was to instruct Harry not to speak or respond. It was refreshing to see the interviewer, who appeared to have a patronizing tone and face that made me laugh, as I could imagine that Meghan would be incandescent with rage and trying to contain it. My take on her ideation is that day, for some reason, she wanted to gaslight Harry and waited till she saw his car and then started with the tears and threw herself on the floor before he entered. I think she did say things to Harry. You don't care about me. Your family hate me, etc., etc. Because that evening she had the duper's delight smile. She certainly did. She was so smug, it was unbelievable. Harry, in contrast, looked very upset and troubled. Just my thoughts. Well, I'm going to tell you there is an alternative explanation that I have had pointed out to me from somebody who knows Harry very well and has insight into the situation as it has taken place. Harry has not been quite as supportive or willing and has gone along with Meghan's schemes because he has felt he had no alternative but to do so. In for a penny, in for a pound. He's in for millions. And he functions from a vantage point of weakness. Whatever happened before they appeared at the Cirque du Soleil at the Royal Albert Hall on the 16th of January, there is no doubt that she was not curled up in a ball, miserable on the floor where she had been all afternoon, and that she was professionally made up. She never shed a tear because her makeup remained immaculate. The house lights were never dimmed so much that you could lose sight of either of them if you looked closely enough, and nobody around her heard her sobbing. The whole thing is a very sick joke, and I don't think it's a laughing matter. So, yes, professionals are aware of the fact that, and not only professionals, ordinary people, nobody behaves the way she behaved in that sort of forum with those sort of people. I mean, she never lost the smile on her face, not once. Oh. GR888T says, I think those parents have some idea that it's a PR stunt, as these are the same parents Meghan and Harry met when she wore that white off-the-shoulder top last year. When she was with the Surgeon General in New York, yes. The off-the-shoulder night outfit in the middle of the day. Tasteless to the nth degree. Well, I think that parents' network is a worthy cause and I support it. And my concern isn't that the network exists and that it is worth, in many ways, far more than Harry and Meghan will ever be able to contribute to it. My concern is that these people are being exploited by Meghan and Harry for publicity. And I have to tell you, one of the dynamics of being grand is that people who are not quite as grand as one will cut one an awful lot of slack. It is a form of deference. It's also, in many sociological ways, very explicable and perfectly natural star quality, however you want to put it. And in situations like that, when parents are dealing with such issues of such magnitude and enormity, anybody who is going to offer them support or help, they will often readily accept. I don't for a second knock the parents. I knock Harry and Meghan for being so obvious in their exploitativeness. And also, when parents have been through, when people, not only parents, people, anybody who has suffered a loss of that nature, who has been close to the person who has now gone, however they get comfort, quite frankly, they should avail themselves of it, even if it's going to be from exploitative opportunists. I think Harry and Meghan are doing themselves far more harm than they are doing those poor parents. And I will make the point again that a lot of it had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with online bullying, but to do with an issue of which both Harry and Meghan are extremely familiar. And so is Doria, because according to the Markle family, Doria was a dealer in substances and was always availing herself of substances, which is what essentially broke up her marriage where Thomas Markle Sr was concerned. Many of those parents lost their children to drugs, nothing to do with online bullying. Why is Harry and why is the Aspen Institute and why is Meghan interested in focusing on online bullying. Nobody induced those children to buy and avail themselves of certain substances online. Are you going to shut down the whole world because somebody has done something they shouldn't? Now, I, by the way, am not for a second advocating that it should be allowed for certain substances to be available online. I don't think they should be. So let's be clear about that. But we need to not have Harry and Meghan's opportunism muddy the waters. They are trying to shut down the internet so you and I and everybody else won't be allowed to call them out on what they are up to. We won't be allowed to acknowledge that both the Emperor and Empress not only have no clothes on, but have really lousy bodies as well. So, Enid Z says, Meghan deserves the same amount of sympathy from complete strangers around the world as the amount of sympathy that she gave to the first man who ever loved her. I couldn't agree more. Meghan, insofar as I am concerned, deserves justice. That's what she deserves. Justice. Justice can be a very harsh pill. Let's put it that way. Diane Knight says, Meghan is a proven liar, and to cash in on people's grief is despicable. I couldn't agree more. Harry is not so good at acting, and his body language gives him away at every turn. He was, I am informed, surprised at the turn certain events took. She was prepared. You are quite right. The hand on knee is a control mechanism. Salt and pepper seem to have become oil on water. Interesting, no? If the king and government removed all titles and places in the line of succession now, anything Meghan and Harry did from then on would simply be seen as spite. Very well observed. Nobody else has ever come up with that one. The people of the UK have been calling for this for some time now. It is about time the king listened to his people. The king can deprive Harry of his royal rank. He cannot deprive Harry of his dukedom. I don't know how many times I have to say this before the message is going to be delivered. Yes, there are things the king and the government can do. The government can deprive Harry of his dukedom. But do you think this government is going to, especially at this time, with all that is going on, and all that will continue to go on, this government is going to be even less inclined to do what it should be doing where Harry and Meghan are concerned than the previous one was inclined to do. And the previous one had no inclination whatsoever. I think we can leave it at that. The king has only limited powers. The king has done the best he can in the situation. Bank of Charles has gone bust. Phone don't answer. Letter never seen, etc., etc. As Harry himself has made clear. I've been saying it for some time. And Harry and Meghan were saying to the contrary. Well, his latest wheeze is that he's thinking of coming over. Let's see what happens there, because Harry is going to flip-flop like a dead fish before he comes to life and makes any sort of a leap that he ought to make. Jackie King says, I was told a great deal about the bullying by a friend of someone at the palace. He was furious about what the staff went through at Meghan's hands. Furious. Jackie King, there are a lot of people who have been told a lot of things, quietly and privately. I have been told a lot of things that I cannot, for legal reasons, reveal. The fact of the matter is, the world knows Meghan is a bully, and that's what counts. They don't need to know each and every detail. That would sate their curiosity. But is it going to actually alter the fact that everybody already knows Meghan is an ace bully? I don't think so. Terry North says, our dearest Lady C, thank you. Can you clarify for us if Harry and Meghan's children are by surrogate? Why does the mother matter as the royal lineage is from Harry's donated sperm? How does this work? It couldn't be simpler, my dear. In this country, we have laws that determine that a surrogate child born of even both parents' natural biological attributes. I'm desperately stretching to find a delicate way of conveying the thought, this being YouTube. The child is still illegitimate if it was born in this country of a surrogate. Doesn't matter whose egg and whose sperm, doesn't matter. All that matters is the child is carried by a woman who is not the legal wife of the husband, therefore the child is illegitimate. If the child is illegitimate, it has certain rights and it lacks other rights. Where titles are concerned, it lacks the right to inherit the peerage. It lacks the right to inherit a title at all, including a courtesy title, until it is adopted by the couple who are legally married. At that point, it inherits the right to its father's title. Or if the mother is titled and it's one of those titles that passes through the female line, for instance, Lord Howard de Walden or the Countess of Sutherland, or the Earldom of Sutherland, I should say. The late Countess was in her own right. So her children and the previous Lord Howard de Walden was Lady Howard de Walden, if that makes sense to you. And their children, of course, inherited the titles because, and the courtesy titles. But illegitimate, not a chance, no title whatsoever, and adopted only courtesy titles. And a child born of a surrogacy in this country, even if the married couple or the biological origins of that child is still illegitimate, and the best it can do is be adopted and thereby have a courtesy title. I hope that answers the question. So this is a rule of thumb for anybody. Donna Relaxing says, I want to share my complete thoughts on something if you don't mind. Harry raced to London after his father's diagnosis. And I'm reading this out because this is very spot on. And it is such a delight that we have a community of people who are so thinking, feeling, intelligent, astute, just wonderful. Harry raced to London after his father's diagnosis because he wanted to see how bad or how close his reign may be over. Very good point. Very good point. Cynical but true. Harry knows, as we all do, once his father is gone, the grifters will simply be erased. Harry knows there is no reunion with the royals. Who knows if King William or Queen Dowager Camilla will allow him to attend the king's funeral. I don't think we will need to wait. Harry is already taken a match to the monarchy and is attempting to burn it to the ground. As if he could. Laugh out loud, my, as if he could. I can only speak over here in America, and there is nothing he could say about Charles or William that would ever have us side with him and skank. Love it. In America, Harry was ours. We had Diana's baby boy, and y'all had William. Yes, back in the day, Harry was our wild, crazy royal, and everyone loved him. Young, old veterans. We feared what retribution he may receive from his granny after a trip to the States. But America loved Harry. I think she's referring to Harry's strip poker session. And there is no way Harry did not know that nor feel the love in our press before her. Very good point. I cannot stress how much we thought of him as ours in America. Harry could do no wrong. Well, those memories have long gone and reside in a sour, bitter taste in the back of our throats. I thought I'd read that out because I thought it's really very apposite. I gather that America did love Harry, but so did we in Britain. Really, people genuinely loved Harry. As much as they revile him now, they loved him. Very sad. And we're going to end with Catherine Shields Coolan, who says, I think Meghan deliberately went to HR with the view that if the staff bullying accusations came out, she could say it was due to her mental health issues. And you know what I mean. Thoughts at that time. That's a very, very good point to make. But I don't think that was the major concern. The timing is off for that. The whole business of the bullying investigation had come to light when they were abroad. So no, I don't think that was the motivation. I think they may have hoped that, or she would have hoped, I should say, that she could then maybe down the line use this to assist her with the bullying as well. But I think the main concern, the timing is very clear. It happened after Birkenhead. Birkenhead is where the press went electric behind the scenes. Electric. I have friends who were there, who have told me what they saw. The photographs don't lie either. Nor does the trail of slime that the slugs leave behind them as they go from point A to point C via point B. Notice how my mouth slipped? Isn't it extraordinary how one's mouth slips from time to time? Oh dear, oh dear. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. If it has, please keep the questions and comments coming in so I will know what you would like us to be speaking about. Okay? Take good care. Godspeed. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and take very good care. Bye-bye.